Linda Sidhu. Welcome to the Workflight Podcast.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. I just adore you. I'm excited to go into all of the different topics. I have a feeling today we're going to get just a wide range of different strategies, collaboration, all of these ideas around partnership and how it actually creates leads and sales in your business. And I just think you are such an amazing person that does this so well. And so I'm really excited to just have a conversation with you about it. But before we get into it, what is your business? How long have you been in business? Give it all to us.
So, I am the founder of the MixerMind, which you're a part of, and I'm just super appreciative. We just have the best community. And I didn't get here as a founder of the MixerMind. I guess where it all started was probably in my pharmaceutical sales days, where I learned the DISC framework. And it was really just learning my personality and the personalities of my doctors and how to communicate and sell to them. So the company at the time gave us training on that. And I have used this framework my entire life for success. And so when I retired from pharmaceutical sales, I became a mom and I stayed at home with Liam for 5 years. Then I ended up launching my own business. And the only way I could think of creating a lead magnet was through a quiz to divide people out in their personalities and segment based on personality. So then I would know how to communicate and sell to them. I was known as the quiz queen or a quiz strategist when I first came on board in 2020. That's how I launched my business, was quiz strategist. But in March 2023, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. It was a good diagnosis, but I did have a complication in one of my surgeries where I had an emergency surgery. And after that surgery, I really had a new perspective in life where I felt like community is where I needed to go. Mainly because even though I was launching the MixerMind, I had a beta group at the time. These individuals weren't just partners and collaborators for me. They were really my lifeline. They rallied together to help host Zoom calls, and they also collected money to give me gift cards for grocery delivery during that time. And it was at that moment, I just wanted to double down on the community aspect because they really showed up for me in a big way. And so that following November was the launch that you joined. And so it was my first official MixerMind launch. And now I'm the founder of the MixerMind. And it's just a beautiful community where we prioritize long lasting, mutually beneficial relationships for long term growth. And so that is, in a nutshell, where I came from and how I got here today. But even today, I still use the personality framework when it comes to partnerships and collaborations. So I still weave DISC into everything that I do.
Yeah, I was going to say, it just seems like community and then communication. Like there's a relationship between the two that I would love to dive into with you because it makes so much sense when you're saying, hey, okay, I was in sales, then I learned this, then I did quiz and segmented and then could communicate very specifically to specific people based off of how they wanted to be communicated to. So I'm really interested to know what that relationship is, what the through line is between community and communication. I feel like it's pretty strong.
Wow, no one's ever picked up that through line, but I would have to say you're 100% right because I think in this world, like what I know about sales is that we have different personalities and different strokes are for different folks. So you're a dominant personality where you're going to want options. You already know what you want. You just want to know, what are my options? There are people that are opposite of your personality who are really hardcore on values. And if the values alignment's not there, then they're not going to purchase. And in order to know that the value is there, they have to spend a while to contemplate, to build trust and loyalty with you. And so those types of people are not going to buy for at least like a year, maybe two, because they're still building up trust. And then we have two other personalities, one that really focuses on data and one that's a little bit more emotional, impulse buying type personality. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what personality you have. I think if you learn how to communicate what you're selling and give people options while building trust and proving data to back up claims and like doing everything you should be, potentially you can get the sale relatively easy. And so this also goes with just relationships. Even with my husband, for example, I always joke around, he's also a dominant personality. that he's going to call the shots. So if we want to go to dinner on Friday night, it's best to give him options of the places I want to go to. So I would say, hey, I know we talked about going to dinner on Friday night. I was thinking we could go to Delancey for pizza, or maybe we could go to Ray's if it's nice out and sit out on the deck and have some appetizers during happy hour. Which one do you think you want to do? And then he'll pick. And then I win because these are two places I want to go. And he wins because he likes to call the shots, but he also doesn't like to make the decision. He likes that I've already served up options, and it just makes it easy for him. So in the end, in your personal life, you can also communicate with people and make sure you're both getting what you want, per se. So I think communication, community, whatever way you dice it, when it comes down to it, it is really important to communicate to people and to understand people so you can work together.
It's so funny. When you were describing your husband, that is my fiance to a T. And I actually learned like recently that whole tactic of giving an option and then letting him pick. I'm like, oh, this is so much easier. It's like a hack.
Yeah, it is so much easier. Totally.
I'm like, I get exactly what I want and you get to choose.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense in terms of structuring your communication so that it's almost positioning you to get exactly what you want from a relationship. And then they also get to be communicated in the way that feels really easy and simple to them. Now, how do you cultivate community with all of these different types of people and personality types? Like, how do you make that go?
Well, I think at the end of the day, I'm sort of like a peacemaker. I do believe that there's a seat at the table for everybody. So my hope is that we are all coming together and we have similar values. I do know when I created the community of the MixerMind, I made sure I had a purpose. And so the purpose serves as my North Star. And the purpose of the community really is to build long-lasting partnerships that are mutually beneficial. And then obviously connection and creating community is part of that. But whenever I do anything for my community, I make sure, am I serving that purpose or not? And it sort of serves as a North Star for what I need to do to support my members. Interesting enough, last year you were at the retreat that I was at, and I put everybody in different tables that was based on their personality. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then I had us do a little workshop where we got to decide what collaboration felt good to you. And so what was really interesting was out of the 4 personalities, the data-driven personalities, they wanted to be one of few. They would much prefer to be an expert versus be in a bundle with a ton of people or a summit with a ton of people. They would rather host a workshop. Whereas people who are dominant, they like to get paid for their expertise and their time. And so we kind of created a way where it's like, as long as you're serving all these individuals and understand and communicating what's important to them, then you can make partnerships. That's how it kind of works, is like understanding each other, knowing where your values lie, and making sure that the partnerships work based on what's important to other people.
That makes a lot of sense. So, when you're facilitating these partnerships, how do you make sure everyone gets what they want? Like, if someone's like, oh, I really want a partnership with this person, how do they start to craft like the perfect partnership?
Well, I think it goes down to like values. When I do different partnerships with people or put people in different peer pods, I'm putting them together at where they are in business. Do their values align? And also, do they have an ideal client match is a consideration. So one of the biggest things that's really important for partnerships and collaborations is you got to make it a win for you. You got to make it a win for the other entrepreneur. But most importantly, you need to make it a win for the audience that's going to receive the partnership. So if you work backwards from the audience, and let's say you and I both serve coaches, but we do different things, then we have a beautiful partnership because I can do quizzes or I can talk about the community aspect where you can talk about visuals and talk about the WorkPlay method. So we're serving a similar audience and we're doing different things, but it ends up being a triple win. A win for you, a win for me, and a win for the audience.
That makes a lot of sense. And I agree. I think people leave out the audience so much. Part of my job as like just where I'm at in my career is literally just talking to people on Zoom all the time, facilitating partnerships, collaborations with the various brands that we have. And what I notice a lot is sometimes when you get on these partnership calls, the audience is not even talked about. Like it's like, oh, what do you want? What do I want? What do you want? What do I want? And it's like,
Exactly.
whoa, 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 wait, like why are we even doing this? That makes a lot of sense. And it's something that I constantly think about. It's like this doesn't really exist, or this partnership isn't really going to be successful if the audience isn't buying into it. So we have to consider them. Okay, so as far as collaboration goes, I am curious to know your thoughts. Like, do you think you can collaborate with competition? Do you even think there is a such thing as competition? I think you're the perfect person to ask this question because you've created the MixerMind, and the MixerMind has so many amazing people in it. There's got to be some overlap in there at
Mhm.
some points. And how do you go about that?
Yeah, so for me in particular, when I launched my business, it was right around COVID, and that's when Liam was in kindergarten and he ended up coming straight home. And I had just retired, stayed at home with him for 5 years, was finally getting ready to launch my business, and then he was back. And I was a little frustrated because I was like, this was supposed to be a time that I was going to do something for me. But I quickly reminded myself, because Liam's a huge priority and I love him so much, that I realized, oh, you know what? No one's going to take away my destiny. If I have to be here with Liam for another year or two, my destiny is mine. I'm not competing to get it. It doesn't really matter. So it's going to be mine. And so that really helped me calm down and prioritize more balance over working hard or staying up till midnight, trying to force things when I knew I didn't really have to force anything. It was all going to work out the way it was supposed to. The other thing is yes, you can have competitors, but I really urge you to be more open-minded to seeing where are they really focusing on. So when I was doing quizzes, there was one quiz expert that did quizzes where they were more, I call them like custom quizzes, where the quiz would go to specific offers. Whereas I really focused on the personality type quiz where I segment based on personalities. And we were both doing the same thing, but we kind of did it different ways. Same thing happened when there was a MixerMind member who joined, and I saw that she also does quizzes. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, should I feel like intimidated or what should I think about this? And the more I talked to her and kind of just open dialogue and a conversation, I realized that she does ecom quizzes. And that was great for me because I don't do ecom quizzes. And so now I have someone to refer business to who does e-commerce.
Mm.
So I think like at the end of the day, you really shouldn't view competition as competition. You should be open-minded to see, is there a way I can partner with them? Are they doing something different than me? And if so, then that could be an avenue that could be a great partnership because you also have a values alignment.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, can you expand on that? Like, if you are going to collaborate with a quote unquote competitor or
Yeah.
someone who's in the space doing something similar, what are some things that you're thinking about? Because I actually think partnering with competition is extremely smart.
Oh, okay, cool. So, one thing that I did is I became an affiliate for another quiz creator. And I think I was her best affiliate because, first of all, I didn't have my quiz stuff up and running yet. So, it was the only place that I was referring business to at the time as a newer business owner in 2020. Because even though I knew what to do, I didn't have like a course or anything like that. And I was a new business owner. So, affiliate money was important to me because I didn't have a lot of money coming in. But not only that, like, I guess that's the best example I have is like being an affiliate for somebody. Because if you're already doing something similar, but they're doing it a different way and you're already talking about it, it's really just important to match people to the right person if that's something they're looking for. Because I will tell you, I never wanted to do a custom quiz like that. Took me twice as long to think about the strategy to do it her way than versus my way. And same thing with the ecom girl. I can help people with ecom, but I'm not familiar with all the ins and outs. And so I felt like I was doing those customers a disservice. And so it was now that I know that there's an avenue for that as well, it makes more sense for me to send that over that business to somebody else.
That makes a lot of sense. And plus you get paid for it. It's not like
Yeah.
it's genius. Okay. So how do we know when we're ready for collaboration? How do we know that we're ready for collaboration and partnership? And then how do we invest money into getting into rooms and making that happen?
So I think when you're ready, when you've actually done ideal client research on your own business and your own ideal client, when I create quizzes for people, one of the very first questions I ask in the quiz is, what do you identify with? Are you a coach, course creator, service provider, e-com, you name it, right? And the reason why this is so important is because once I started putting that question in my quizzes, I realized that 50% of the people who are taking my quizzes, I've released 3 of them, all identify with the word coach. Once I knew coach was who was coming to me to purchase from me, that then dictated what podcasts I was going to be on. So one of the podcasts I really wanted to be on was Dallas Traver's Coaches on a Mission. Why? Because she had an audience of coaches, but she was a business coach and did something different than me. And I thought that I could add value to her community. And then the other thing is this dictates the rooms that you go into. So the second person that identified with my audience was course creator. So I work with Kajabi. I have Kajabi as my website. I use them for my email. Actually, I don't have Kajabi as my website anymore. I just switched over to Show It, which is amazing. But I'm still working with Kajabi. They host all my courses and everything. And they have an event every year. And so I actually went to the Kajabi live event, knew that I wanted to start a relationship with them, knew that I wanted to be in a room full of course creators because that's who I was serving. So that's also a great way to dictate where you're putting your money to get a good return on investment so you can get in front of your ICA or rooms that have your ICA.
That's something that I always urge people to understand before they buy into a group is like who else is going to be there. And they don't necessarily need to be your ideal client, but people who serve your ideal client. If that's one of the KPIs for investing in a group or an event or anything like that. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Because you want an ROI on like the relationships, right? Which brings me to my next question is like, how do you measure the ROI of going into a community, building relationships? In my mind, it's something that you get what you put in, but you get out what you put in. How can we optimize this without being pushy? Because I hate desperate energy. It's like, how do you balance that of like wanting to get your ROI, but like, how do you naturally do that with relationships?
I think it's a good question. I think it's probably specific for each individual. For example, for the MixerMind, a lot of people are like, how do I leverage this? There's so many people in here. How do I take advantage of this? And so lately in my newsletter, I finally created a newsletter for the community called The Mix. I have a section on how people are leveraging the community. And so I'm actually seeking out information from members and putting that in the newsletter to give people ideas. Holly Haynes is a great example. She's a dominant entrepreneur, very fast action taker, risk taker, but she's efficient with her time. And so what she does is she schedules MixerMind hours. And she'll go in the Facebook and check and see what's going on there and comment. She'll also take the MixerMind hours as times to partner with other entrepreneurs, invite people on her podcast, maybe pitch herself to other podcasts, but she creates hours around it. So she can go in and, like you said, whatever you put in, you get back. And you get back tenfold some of the times, especially with the MixerMind community, because we're so generous. People are so willing to give. You almost just have to like ask for it, right? Like just be like, hey, I just need some help. And you'll get a ton of people that are happy to help. But there's another girl recently that I featured named Natalie. And what she does instead is she said, well, this isn't a community that I'm trying to track an ROI per se, where it's like, oh, I want to make sure I turn 2 or 3 people into a client. Instead of looking at it that way, she said, what I want to do is partner with 3 to 5 key people that are going to turn into long-term partnerships for more of a long-term strategy.
Yep.
And so I think what's important is for you to really understand, where are you in business? What are your current goals, and how can you use the communities or the rooms that you're in to leverage that to hit your goals?
That makes so much sense. And I completely agree. I think that relationships, to be honest, like your network is really the only shortcut that you can have in business. Because people can open doors, they can open up opportunities for you. And so it's actually like the number one thing that I know I invest in my business is
Yeah.
getting in the room to then facilitate these connections. Now, I am really interested in how Natalie, who you were saying,
Yeah.
she kind of thinks about getting these 3 to 5 really high leverage partnerships. So, could you give us a few tips on when you have your sights set on someone? I would imagine, because I've been in this position before, that you don't want to just like go straight to them and like, let's partner. There's a little bit of schmoozing involved
Yeah.
in this and a little bit of like dating involved in getting these relationships and strengthening the connection that I have always been really fascinated in, even before I had a business. Like, how do people build relationships that then create amazing opportunities for them? How do you go about that?
Yeah, this reminds me of a new book I just bought called The Business Romantic. I'm
I
like,
love that.
I haven't even started reading it really, but I'm like, what is it going to say? This sounds like so juicy already. But you almost do have to like be a romantic with people to like schmooze and like all that stuff. I don't really want to call it schmoozing or anything like that, but the reality is, and I can't speak to like Natalie and anybody else that's doing it, but I can speak to what I've done. What I've done when I was in sales is I really did focus on their personalities, like if this doctor was a certain personality or not. And so some of my big doctors that were like the whales, the ones that were writing most prescriptions for me, I really needed to figure out how I could partner and serve them. And so for one of these individuals, you could never tell him what to do. I couldn't say write more prescriptions. He actually did the clinical research on my competitor and my products. So he knew darn well what he was doing. But what I did instead is I used him as a speaker for all my events. So I sort of fed to his ego by highlighting him, making sure he was the expert in the room. And with that, he had to talk about my product and how he was utilizing it, right? So that was a way I leveraged that relationship. There are other doctors that instead of doing that, I would actually take a different approach to. There was one doctor that she was more like my personality, where I would just ask her how her weekend was and we would just chat. And there were times where she was actually divorced and she had kids, and she would ask for help to like drive her family to the airport. And I would do that for her. And to this day, we've maintained a friendship just because like she trusted me and needed help. But that was the way I could support her too. But even talking about the business way, if you have your sights set on somebody that's a really big entrepreneur, you need to take it slow. First, you need to meet them, okay? Whether it's sliding into their DMs. One really easy way to support a mentor or an entrepreneur that's further along than you is to offer support with no strings attached. I actually did this for somebody where she had a quiz and it wasn't doing very well. And I sent her a DM because she talked about it on Instagram. She was like, oh, I'm going to burn it down. And so I sent her a DM and I said, look, like I'm more than happy to audit it and take a look at it. Like I didn't ask for any money. I just genuinely wanted to support her. And that's where the relationship started. Now we ended up on Voxer talking about certain things and different strategies. And she did take her quiz down because it wasn't working the way she wanted it. She never did create a quiz, but she did say like, if I ever create a quiz, I'll circle back to you. Now, the funny thing is like we have since become very good friends. And she's also part of the MixerMind and part of my amazing community, right? So you never know where things are going to go. But the best thing you can do is just be genuine, be nice, offer a hand. But too many times I've had this done to me where somebody's like, can I audit something for you? And then you do the audit. And then at the end, they're turning around. They're like, well, you're my ICA and I can sell. And then they start selling to you. It's like a bait and switch. I've also had people message me and be like, you're my perfect ICA. Can I ask you a few questions so I can get my messaging right? And I'm like, yes, because going back to when I said people always want to help, they're always willing to lend a hand. So I got on a call with this particular entrepreneur and I was trying to give back and give them feedback. And then at the end, of course, you're my ICA. I think I can work with you. How about for $5,000, do a 90-minute strategy call and we can crush this, da, da, da. It felt awful because I felt cornered and it didn't really build trust. And now I don't trust that person at all. Right. And so it just ruined everything. And so at the end of the day, I think you need to be willing to not go for transactional short-term exchanges and really look at this as like, maybe this happens 2 years from now, maybe nothing happens. Maybe this person actually opens a door for somebody else, but you got to put the agenda aside and just start with being kind and starting that relationship with clean and like no strings attached.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think that this happens in sneaky ways and maybe in ways people don't even realize that they're doing it. Like if you're trying to connect with someone to sell them, that is like so different than like connecting with someone based off of a connection and a partnership or just like wanting to be their friend. And it's so simple, but I do think a lot of people miss that piece of it, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's a hard line to walk in, but I think it's a really clear line once you see it.
Yeah.
Like just don't sell to people that you're connecting with. If someone wants your product or service, we live in the day and age of the internet. They can just book a call with you or
Yeah,
they can
totally.
just reach out to you. It's not like you're inaccessible. So I totally agree with that.
Well, one thing I do want to share that I just thought of is like if you do want to partner with somebody in the long term, what you could do is if they're open to a coffee chat or just like even if you're just in a room and hanging out and chatting with this person, you could literally just start by asking about them.
Yeah.
Like, so tell me more about you. What are your goals for this year? Tell me more about who you're serving, like just normal questions. And then if you really want to partner, you could be like, you know what? I think I have a similar ideal client as you. I would love to have you inside of my community. And you could make the first move that way based on their feedback by genuinely learning who they are, who they serve, and what their goals are for that year. And then you can help. And if you can't help, you can introduce them to somebody else that might be a better partner for them.
Totally. I feel like intros are so underrated. And just the question of what is your goal? How can I help you? Is like something whenever I get on a coffee chat or a connect call, that's like my number one question. Like, I want to make sure we're using this time efficiently. If the goal is just to connect, great. But if you have a goal, I want to know it so that we can just facilitate the conversation around that goal. And it's like give, then ask, and it's
Yeah,
not even on
totally.
your goal. It's like, how many times can you give to someone before they're like, what can I do for you? Like, I always think about that. I'm like, let me just give to this person until they literally are just like, I need to help you because you've given me so much.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I'll tell you another situation. When I was in pharmaceutical sales, I had the number 2 doctor in my territory,
Mm.
and I would be at his office every single Monday with a personal Starbucks coffee for each person in his office, okay?
Wow.
Every single Monday, I would show up, make sure his staff started their Monday off right, and I never asked him for anything ever until I went on my honeymoon. And I said, "Hey, I'm going to be gone, and I was just wondering if you could write a couple more extra scripts for my acne medication when you see your teen acne patients coming in for before school. If you could do that, that'd be fantastic. If not, no worries about it. But I'm actually headed on vacation and would just love the extra support." And just that simple statement, he ended up writing so many scripts for me that August. It was like twice as many as he's ever done before because I finally asked him for help.
Wow, I love that. And yeah, it's kind of a testament to like know when to ask, right? Like
Yeah.
know how much you've done. So I kind of want to circle this back to visuals and creating visuals. And this is such a strong strategy, partnership, collaboration, community. It's such a strong strategy that is almost, it's kind of invisible in a way. Like people can't really see you doing it until they've seen it already done by you. Like they can't really see you working behind the scenes on your network and on your community. How does a WorkPlay member who has a shoot coming up, how do they craft some visuals that are going to help facilitate all of this?
Well, I think I can only really speak to how I utilized WorkPlay for my own business. And I like to call it like a show, don't tell approach. So, sales these days need to be a little bit more subtle and they also need to evoke emotion. And so, what better way can you do that with visuals, right? You can really show the emotion, you can really show what you're trying to create. I had WorkPlay in Cabo and we did photo shoots. And then I was so grateful, but we took some time aside and I had lots of group shots to visually showcase what I'm actually doing inside of my community. We had pictures on the beach, we had one-on-ones, we had all these different visuals. And how I used that strategy was to visually bring everything to life. Yes, I talk about this community, but if I had a sales page where it was just me in my home with the computer, how is that going going to bring anything to life. So I really needed to capitalize on, yes, I actually have a community and it's over 100 people and here they are. And we're actually on vacation, having fun and visually showing this. And what that does is it shows, what you're selling. You don't even have to say anything or write the written word, right? The other thing is it taps into the emotions because people are like, I want that.
Something that I'm just going to piggyback off of that I know that you did and are planning to do, but you're leveraging the process to also cultivate more community. So like gifting shoots and showcasing, like, yes, we went to Cabo, but what you were really doing is putting your people on a pedestal as well. Like,
yes,
facing them and they feel special. And like you gave them 2 full WorkPlay shoot days across all of them. So I like to highlight that because it's just a different way of using the process that you can absolutely do. But I think it's so in line with how you do things in general through community, through partnership, where it's like, how can I utilize this tool that I've implemented for other people, which is so genius.
Well, I think it's true. I think what I did was I was trying to find ways to surprise and delight that they weren't aware of when they were coming to Cabo. So it was a true surprise and delight. Nobody knew that they were going to get these photo shoots until it got closer to the date and we announced it. And I did have some members be like, oh, shoot, had I known about this, I would have come and I opted out. You know what I mean? It was more of like a surprise and delight. We were in the works of putting it together and it was super fun to do. But to your point, I love to shine the light on other people. I've always been that way. I like to bring people into my community. I like having them do the workshop. I do the behind the scene panels. I'm constantly being like, let's put you on center stage and letting people be seen and heard. Now, the other thing is for your method too, is as a business owner, is they could utilize it for top affiliates. I was just chatting with you right before our interview where I was like, I'd love to gift photo shoots to my top affiliates who are really supporting my business, like gifting it. And actually, Jordan Gill told me it would be a great gift option because I was asking the community, what would you want? And she actually brought up a WorkPlay branding photo shoot.
Yes, it's really funny because I almost think that Jordan, she inspired me to think about how members were using the shoots even bigger. I mean, she's used her WorkPlay shoots to do giveaways. She's used her WorkPlay shoots to do gifts, like she's used it for herself as well. But like, there's so many ways that you can strengthen a collaboration or strengthen your relationship with your audience through giving. And it's just such a through line with this entire episode and the framework around partnership and community. I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, you have a shoot coming up. I hope. I'm like, Linda, you got to book your shoot. Let's go. What is on the horizon? What kind of visual campaigns are you wanting to create in the future with the WorkPlay method? And what are you excited about visually?
So I'm excited to revamp my quiz lab and turn it into a do-it-yourself course. That has been on pause for a while. And so the vision of this sales page, it was really like hiking up a mountain. And it's like, yes, quizzes are a lot of work, but I'm your Sherpa and I'll take you along the way every step of the way. So visually, I was like, we have to do it in Seattle. We have to go to Suncadia, which is my favorite resort, where I have my hiking shoes and we could visually see me hiking trails to be the guide to show you where to go for quizzes. So visually, that's what I've had in mind for Quiz Lab for a long time. And then also MixerMind as well, because MixerMind, I would love to get more visuals of community in action, things like that. But I want to use my WorkPlay method and my shoots to visually bring to life every offer I have so I can intentionally tap on the emotions of what we're trying to achieve in each offer.
I think that's so smart. And I think it's really smart to theme it out. So many people want to do almost like the generic shoot. Like, I hate to say that, but it's so true. I do shoots all the time. I see shoots. We facilitate shoots all the time. It's like couch with laptop. I'm like, let's theme it out, people. Let's get a bigger vision. So I am so proud of you for that vision because that's really cool. I just think the visual helps land the message. And I think you're very spot on with that. It's like, who is doing quizzes and creating a shoot around hiking hiking up a mountain? No one. So what that's going to do is that's really going to pattern interrupt anyone in your audience because they've never seen you do that before. And it's going to land the message home. So I just think that's really, really smart.
I'm excited, and you're going to be coming here this summer, so maybe we'll finally do it and make this like turn it into like something beautiful. But yeah, like I know the place where I want to go, and then I'll probably do like a Pinterest board of like putting pictures together of hiking. And the resort has such a cute place of like marshmallows and just that cozy feeling of being outside, being the Pacific Northwest. I totally want that vibe though.
Oh, you're going to get it, girl. Okay. How can everyone connect with you? I know that your MixerMind relaunches at the end of the year, I believe. How can people connect with you on quizzes, all the things?
Yeah, so you know what's really cool is I created a quiz called What's Your Visibility It Factor? And it's your strategy on how to lean into your strengths to get more collaborations and partnerships. But it's based on the disc, which we talked about. And then this is the entry point. So you can actually see how I do quizzes and the strategy behind it. But you'll be entered into my world, which email is my preferred platform for communication. But all roads lead to the MixerMind from that point. But I even share different ways to, like my Magic Match workshop, where we talk about who your magic match is based on certain people in your community. But yeah, that is the quiz that you're going to want to take, because if you're interested in more partnerships and collaborations, that'll give you your own strategy. And I cannot wait to hear if you take the quiz. Email me and let me know what it is.
I took that quiz, I believe, in Cabo. And
Yeah,
didn't you send that out to all of us?
I did. I did.
That's the one, right?
Yeah.
It gives you such a comprehensive deep dive that's personalized to you. And it's so action orientated, and it just allows you to see yourself. I talk about self awareness all the time on this podcast, and this would be the ultimate self awareness tool if you're going into partnership or investing in a community like the MixerMind. So definitely take this quiz.
Yeah. Or were you the People's Pilot by chance? I would think that you were the People's Pilot. It's People's Pilot, Host with the Most, Smooth Sailor, or Gifted Guide.
I cannot remember the name that I got. I just remember it being very accurate. Like I like very equal partnership, and I like to get results from my partnerships. That's what it told me, I believe.
Yeah, good.
Okay, well, that will be in the show notes for sure. Can people DM you? Where can they find you on social?
Oh, yeah, they can find me on Instagram. I am Linda Sidhu. And after I work with WorkPlay, I'll have my act together on my socials a little bit more, which has been something that I've been wanting to bring back. The only reason I put that on pause was because I had so much going on. And it's there. I am Linda Sidhu. Come find me. I'm still around.
I'll make her do her onboarding one of these days, and we'll get her visuals up and going. I love it. Thank you so much, Linda, for this amazing episode.
Thank you.